GALF again. My presentation today is based on critical considerations of modernity, modernism, modernization, and their margins. It draws upon wider work that is embodied in some of my books in English and Spanish published over the last decade. Let me circulate a few of these books, rather randomly chosen. Let me circulate a few of these books. So a few of these books have been circulated. It is not so much the contents, but the cover art of these books that is important. This salience would become clear from the discussion ahead. An exploration of the artist whose images populate four of the five books. His work also appears behind me now. At any rate, to resume, my effort over the last, excuse me. So my effort over the last several years has been to unravel some of the oppositions and enchantments, the contradictions and contentions, and the identities and ambivalences spawned under modernity. At the same time, I do not approach such antinomies, enticements, and ambiguities as analytical errors or historical lacks, which patiently await their eventual overcoming. Rather, my attempt is to critically, yet cautiously, unfold these elements as constitutive of modern words. The acknowledgement in my work of the production of time and space by subjects that are social and disciplinary, plays a crucial role here. Clearly, spatial considerations are critical. In adopting an apparently oblique, ostensibly elliptical perspective on modernity, my bid is not only to interrupt the long-standing, straightforward storylines of the phenomena of modernity. It is also to query the routine portrayals of homogeneous time and question antinomian blueprints of social space. Here, as always, time and space bind each other. Such projections undergird the frequently formalist and often a priori representations of modernity that abound in our present. Together, on offer is an untangling of modernity as acutely expressed by social, spatial, and disciplinary subjects, and is crucially defined by heterogeneous coeval yet hierarchically ordered temporalities. I shall cut out some of the critical emphases of my wider work here. As we discuss modernity and the modern, especially in India and Goa, consider now the haziness that surrounds these concepts. Such haziness derives not only from the manner in which modernity, modernism, and the modern are usually elided, confused with each other. It is equally grounded in the fact that modernity, modernism, and the modern are frequently filtered, are frequently seen through the optics of modernization. At stake is the acute, albeit altering importance in South Asia of becoming and unbecoming modern as a person, a nation, a people. This is true not only of quotidian common sense, but of scholarly sentiments. Actually, the problem has deep roots. In no small measure, the haziness derives from the manner in which modernity is often elided, confused with modernization, and at other times folded into modernism. The notion of modernization, as expressed by its different theories, refers to modular projections of material, organizational, technological, and political economic transformations, principally seen, envisioned in the looking glass of Western development. Here, different, often hierarchically ordered societies are seen as succeeding or failing to evolve from their traditional or pre-modern states through linear stages of succession to become modernized or capitalist arenas. Now the simplistic step-by-step schemas of modernization theories have always been far too tendentious. And so too have they been decisively questioned and firmly rejected by critical scholarship for some time now. Yet, motives of modernization have also crucially carried wide resonance, easily mixed up with mappings of modernity, such that each shows up the other. So, modernization has acquired a pervasive worldly presence in acute everyday life. I'll just give you a single example which brings together modernization and modernity, and it's a two-word phrase called a chilling. Why should this be the case? To begin with, a crucial characteristic of dominant discourses of modernity has hinged on their positing of the phenomena of modernity as marked by a break with the past, a rupture with tradition, a surpassing of the medieval. Of course, there have been dense histories and contradictory claims at stake here, entailing contending strains of the Enlightenment, counter-Enlightenment, and post-Enlightenment traditions, all issues that are discussed elsewhere. At the same time, it is also the case that by the second half of the 19th century, through projections of teleological historical progress, stages of civilization, and social evolutionist schemas, an exclusive West gradually became the mirror for the envisioning of universal history. As worldly knowledge oriented not merely towards ordering, but simultaneously remaking the world, these neat proposals and their formative presumptions entered the lives of historical subjects. Formidably disseminated as ways of approaching and modes of understanding social worlds, they have appeared equally instituted as tissues of affect, as textures of experience within everyday arenas. In this scenario, the filters of modernization actually distilled the designs of modernity, the aggressive assumptions of modernity holding in place the schematic prognosis of modernization. Taken together, modernity's discourses and modernization theories, inextricably entwined, the one with the other, have articulated an imaginary but palpable, distended and aggrandizing West Europe as modernity and history, for all those awaiting its second coming in prior places, anachronistic spaces lagging in time. Yet, there's more to the picture. Beyond routine representations in artistic, intellectual, and aesthetic arenas, each understood broadly, modernity has often appeared in intimate association with its cognate or conceptual cousin, modernism. Now, modernism is also an enormously contentious term that necessarily follows from the contested and contradictory character of the tendencies it describes. Here are to be found cultural movements, styles, and representations going back to the mid-19th century and extending into our own times. And these movements and processes have been diversely expressed and performed in different parts of the world. Following Theodor Adorno, modernism has been a principally qualitative rather than a merely chronological category. But it is also the case that the internal endeavors within modernisms to surpass the past, articulate the present, and envision the future have been intrinsically heterogeneous ones. They have variously engaged and questioned, accessed and exceeded Enlightenment thought and Romantic tradition, abstract reason and religious truth, surface coherence and tonal depth, Western representations and pre-colonial narratives, the certainties of science and the presence of God, and governmental authority and popular politics. The question arises, from Charles Baudelaire's avowal of the ephemeral and the fugitive, through to Ezra Pound's invitation to art to make new, through to modernist rejections of realism and replication in favor of discontinuity and disruption. Through all this, what is common to the cultural tendencies described as modernisms? Put simply, the commonness of all modernisms rests in this: their emphasis on the difference of the contemporary present from past epochs. At the same time, as Peter Childs has argued, modernism has always involved paradoxical, if not opposed trends towards revolutionary and reactionary positions, fear of the new and delight at the disappearance of the old, nihilism and fanatical enthusiasm, creativity and despair. Now, to hold together the discourses of modernity and the articulations of modernism is to hold together the discourses of modernity and the expressions of modernism is to trace the distinct yet connected ways in which they each offer a cessation of the past, an overcoming of the past. It is also to register that the constitutive contradictions and contentions of modernisms can hold a mirror up to connected characteristics and contingencies of that very universal of authoritative universals, modernity. To approach the entanglements between modernity, modernism, and modernization in this manner, where the one is not simply folded into the other, yet their mutual linkages are adequately acknowledged, might have critical consequences. Building on our prior proposals, modernity is now understood not only as a forceful idea, an ideal, an ideology, but modernity is understood as also involving heterogeneous histories and plural processes. These imaginings and procedures extend back to the last 5 centuries and they interlock in critical ways. Now both models of modernization and movements of modernism appear as crucial components, yet small parts in the broader articulation of modernity. There are at least 2 faces to the phenomena, each insinuated, each inserted in the other. On the one hand, as part of a familiar picture, constitutive of modernity are processes of reason and science, industry and technology, commerce and consumption, nation-state and citizen subject, public spheres and private spaces, and secularized religions and disenchanted knowledges. At the same time, it warrants emphasis that vigilance is required regarding the endless unfolding of these developments as heroic histories. Indeed, instead of linear tales of the march of modernity modernization, such stories require being told as rather more checkered narratives, even as models of modernization are registered as part of the protocols of modernity. On the other hand, although this is often overlooked, at the core of modernity are also processes of empires and colonies, race and genocide, resurgent faiths and rarefied traditions, disciplinary regimes and subaltern subjects, and seductions of the state and enchantments of the modern. Lessons learned from the split Janus-faced nature of modernism assumes salience here. This is to say that even as modernity has been endlessly portrayed as embodying a singular, seamless trajectory, its principal procedures, the principal procedures of modernity have been contradictory, contingent, and contested. Protocols that are incessantly articulated, yet also critically out of joint with themselves. In other words, modernity, the articulation, the procedures of modernity are not articulated like that, right? I have fat and clumsy fingers. Someone could do it more delicately. Rather, the fat and clumsy fingers help, because the articulations of modernity are like that. Contradictory, contingent, contested, and they hurt. I am hurting myself. It is precisely these procedures that emerge expressed by subjects of modernity. Here, my reference is to historical actors who have been active participants in processes of modernity. Social actors who have been both subject to these processes, but also subjects shaping these processes. In other words, the two meanings of the word of the term subject. You're subject to authority, but you're also subject of action, practice, history. Over the past, I'm actually moving the range of address in some senses of subjects of modernity. So subjects of modernity now are not just, the elite and the middle classes, as it were. They, you arrive at a different idea of the subjects who have made modernity. So over the past few centuries, the subjects of modernity have included, to take just a few instances, peasants, artisans, and workers in South Asia that have diversely articulated, expressed processes of the colony and post-colony. Indigenous communities in the Americas under colonial and national rule. Peoples of African descent, not only on that continent, but in different diasporas across the world. And indeed, subaltern, marginal, and elite women and men in non-Western and Western theaters. Unsurprisingly, these subjects have registered within their measures and meanings the formative contradictions, contentions, and contingencies of modernity. All of this is to emphasize, too, the importance of affect and subjectivity, long privileged within modernisms in explorations of modernity. Yet it is to do so while refusing to approach affects as the repressed other of the modern, as well as getting away from an understanding of subjects as sovereign selves. Needless to say, such measures can be salient for unraveling the procedures of modernity. First, it is well known that conceptions of modernity generally proceed by understanding the phenomenon in the image of the European and Euro-American, frequently implicitly made modern subject. On the contrary, I'm indicating the inadequacy of conflating the modern subject with the subject of modernity. Is it perhaps the case then that my understanding of subjects of modernity productively widens the range of address of modernity and its participants? Moreover, mine is not a chronological claim that everyone living in the modern age counts as a modern subject. For subjects of modernity have revealed again and again that there are different ways of being modern, now accessing and now exceeding the stipulations of the Western modern subject. Yet, all too often, in fashioning themselves, subjects of modernity have also barely bothered about the Western modern subject, exactly while expressing the enduring terms of modernity. What are the implications of such recognition for considerations of modernity by weaving in distinct textures and transformations of effects and subjectivities? Finally, it bears emphasis that there are other modern subjects besides Western ones, embodying formidable heterogeneity. Does this not suggest the need in discussions of modernity to rethink exclusive images of the modern subject, both in non-Western arenas and in Western ones? Does this, does this not direct sociology and anthropology, historically mediated, as the study not of a never-never tradition, but instead of subjects of modernity? Building on these comments, I turn now to questions of modernisms in South Asia. And this is where the link with the pictures, with the slides becomes, with the images becomes much clearer. But basically what I've been trying to say is that all the people who feature here, the subaltern and the marginal subjects, are actually subjects of modernity. And some of them are modern subjects too. Right? Building on these comments, I turn now to questions of modernisms in South Asia. Here, modernist tendencies on the subcontinent have formed part of diverse expressions across the world of modernism as contentious and contradictory movements, styles, and representations, going back to the mid-19th century and extending into our own times. On the one hand, such initiatives have variously drawn upon and departed from colonial representations and pre-colonial narratives, nationalist thought and nativist tradition, primitivism and futurity, abstract reason and religious truth, and governmental authority and popular politics. There are parallels here with modernist initiatives elsewhere. On the other hand, South Asian modernist endeavors equally seized such concerns, equally rethought such concerns through distinct expressions of modernism, at once questioning the colonial connection with a generally bourgeois modern, articulating the national dynamic with an often avant-garde modern, exploring the critical contours of a contending primitivist modern. I'll just give an example of the last one, Ramkin Garbage. Rethinking the content of tradition and debating the nature of modernity. Imbued with specific spatial densities and dazzled temporal energies, this has provided South Asian modernisms with their own twist, discrete textures. We have discussed that a key characteristic of modernism at large has been to emphasize the difference of the contemporary present from past epochs. Within South Asian modernisms, this claim of a surpassing of the past, turning on time and space, was variously inflected by the gravity of anti-colonial and nationalist imaginaries, the weight of memory and history, the pull of the mythic and the primitive, and the burden of a violent independence and post-colonial politics. This is to say that here, ruptures, breaks with prior artistic movements within the subcontinental aesthetic landscape instill these modernist tendencies with rather particular energies. All of this has meant that the paradoxical, even opposed trends that have characterized modernisms at large acquired in South Asia a discrete cadence, unfamiliar attributes. I make these statements as a prelude to focusing on a single modern subject, who is also a subject of modernity. So I'm focusing on a single modern subject, who is also, of course, a subject of modernity, a contemporary artist from South Asia. This modern and modernist subjects work and clarify several of the wider claims of my talk and of the writings, the books on which these claims are based. They also speak to and talk back at Baudelaire's rendering of the modernity and the modern as innately the fleeting and the ephemeral. The subject in question is Sabindra Savi Savarkar, an expressionist and Dalit artist of extraordinary imagination and progress. His representations track the interplay between meaning and power within hierarchical regimes of religion, caste, gender, and politics, while drawing upon distinctive artistic and ideological influences. Elsewhere, I have explored three overlapping themes in Savi's work. First, the creation of a set of unsettling aesthetic political agendas in the realm of a critical and contemporary Dalit art. Second, the elaboration of such agendas through an entwinement of Ambedkarite ideology, existential attributes of being Dalit, and diverse representational resources, including varieties of expressionism ranging across its early 20th century developments in Germany through to its 1960s manifestations in North America and Europe. And finally, the challenges posed to established procedures of art criticism by these distinct, well, the challenges posed to establish procedures of art criticism and art by these distinct modalities of a Dalit and expressionist artistic production. Here, I turn to what such considerations can suggest about Savi as a modernist creator, a modern subject, and a subject of modernity. But first, a brief introduction to our protagonist is in order. Savindra Savi Savarkar, Savindra or Savi Savarkar, was born in 1961 into a family of the Mahar caste in Nagpur. As part of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's wider initiative, in 1956, Savi's family converted to Buddhism. Savi first studied art at the University of Nagpur. Here, the constraining premises of an institution that continued to cherish the ideals of Victorian art and colonial aesthetics meant that it was in the endless, ceaseless sketching of peoples and places, subjects and objects, that Savi honed his own artistic abilities. His particular, the particular place where he honed his abilities was actually the Nagpur railway station. These capacities were later developed through his other formal and informal studies and apprenticeships in a range of institutions and places. Indeed, Savi's paintings, graphics, and drawings combine influences that range across expressionist art, the poet Rabindranath Tagore's critical drawings of the 1920s and 1930s, the narrative movement of the 1970s and the 1980s, the delicate brushwork of Zen masters, and a wider disposition towards Buddhist aesthetics. Yet, far from being derivative, Savi's art enjoys acute apprehensions of an unjust, murky world with a vibrant use of color, conjuring figures and forms that are at once intense and haunting, forceful and haunted. The result is a radical expressionist imagination and a critical Dalit iconography. Central to this iconography and imagination are specific representations of the past and the present, particular productions of time and space. The sources are overlapping and distinct, moving recitals of untouchable pasts by Savi's unlettered paternal grandmother, whom he describes as his first teacher. Liturgical lists drawn up within the political movement led by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar concerning the disempowerment faced by untouchables. And Savi's own experiences as an artist, an activist, and a Dalit in distinct locations, from status spaces in New Delhi to remote places of gender and caste oppression in village India. Unlike those tacit projections of the modernist artist fabricating forms through the creative force of a pure imagination, unlike all that, Savi seizes upon these discursive and experiential resources, sieving them through while construing an expressionist art. Here the past is not separated from the present. Here the past is not separated in the present in order to split apart past prior caste hierarchies from contemporary intimations of equality. Rather, in Savi's art, the untouchable figures and upper caste forms, each inescapably gendered, are at once densely palpable. They are at once, actually the thing could go on. Thanks. Thanks very much. Here the past is not separated from the present. Rather, in Savi's art, the untouchable figures and upper caste forms, each inescapably gendered, are at once densely palpable and formidably spectral, stocking the past and the present, construing times and spaces of longing and loss which beget each other. Now the silence and sigh of the androgynous untouchables bursts forth into a scream. We were there then, we are here now. Now the gaze and grasp of the sexually predatory Brahman is unraveled through the terms of its own haunting. Far exceeding a mere documentation of history through images of oppression, Savi's art, quote, articulates the past and the present by seizing hold of a memory as it flashes up at a moment of danger. To recall Walter Benjamin. Thanks. Here, the unsettling realism of subterranean imaginings restlessly labors with the haunting terms of a forceful expressionism. The sun is eclipsed, the light is dark, the world in shadows, giving the lie, showing the finger to the phantasms of progress that haunt regimes of modernity. Yet, this critical querying is accompanied by careful affirmation. For in this mode of artistic production, the past and the present bring each other to crisis, compelling other intimations, remappings, as it were, of space and time, identity and nation, the word and the world. There's more to the picture. Behind these portrayals are particular modes of reasoning and a distinct order of subjectivity. You know, we sort of assume that all that artists do is paint or sculpt or take photographs. But you know, artists reason too. They reason in particular ways. I'm so glad you are here. So behind Savi's portrayals are particular modes of reasoning and a distinct order of subjectivity. These spell a rather specific modern subject. Careful critical conversations and meandering joyful exchanges with Savi, as well as revising and rewriting his MA dissertation for submission to Academia San Carlos in Mexico City, in other words, participating in a scam with Savi, have clarified that in speech and writing, Savi reasons by analogy. So his is a form of analogical reasoning. This analogical reasoning is imbued with a surplus of faith regarding Dr. Ambedkar's life and words, read and heard, a productive literalism concerning neo-Buddhist verities and veracities, rehearsed and performed. Militating against logics and analyses of a straightforwardly analytical modern provenance, Savi's embodied expressionist reason, his reason itself is embodied in expressionist, sets the analogical and the literal to seize upon and sift through textual traces, oral liturgies, experiential entanglements, and graphic imaginaries. On offer is a visual hermeneutics. On offer is a visual hermeneutics that renders details with a twist. Here, haunting images resonate with oracular expression. Prior certainties echo limiting doubts. And above all, it is the force of the past that sounds out the fleeting, the fragmentary, and the transitory. So, unlike Baudelaires' fleeting, which came out of Eder, as it were, here the fleeting and the transitory bear the burden of violent histories. All of this is shored up by a vulnerable subjectivity. As a modern subject, Savi's presentation of the avant-garde artistic self, consumed by cutting-edge creativity and unconstrained by conventional norms, has to yet bear an immense burden. This is the unbearable weight of injuries of caste, hidden and obvious, which haunt his work and vocation. We are in the face of a self-fashioning subject whose despair and vulnerability, loss and longing, alongside his reasoning and literalism, expression and imagination. We are in the face of a self-fashioning subject whose despair and vulnerability, longing and loss register that there are different ways of being modern. Ahead of us is a subject of modernity whose existence calls attention to the shaping of alterity by authority, whose creativity points to the reworking of power by difference, and whose work attests to the presence of heterotemporal terrains and socio-spatial subjects as probing and producing each other. Thank you.
couple of things. Number one, this whole idea, which, the way the whole, the intellectual discourse, or even to some extent, media discourse and all of that is necessarily dominated by Western countries, and, they are not only the economic or military power centers, they are also the intellectual power centers. So they, for good or ill, they set agenda for rest of us, which we often get boxed into it. The issue of modernity, for example, this whole idea that this is a more refined, perhaps more well thought through, more egalitarian impulse, or whatever one wants to call it, all these conceptual frameworks, and they're touching on all different areas, as I mentioned, be it industry or art or whatever, academia and so on. What happens is that, when we look at the larger world, and look at traditional societies, transitionary societies like India, and we find that a lot of these things are actually perhaps not holding up. If you look at it, any issue, you pick up, for example, issue of gender and gender justice being a very, very recent idea. Case of India, you look at a lot of these very, some of them still surviving, these very patriarchal societies which are there. They deliver gender justice far better than the Indian Constitution and all the world constitutions, for example. Similarly, we look into the issue of ecology, and now the scientists all over the world, they recognize that yes, the health of a water body system is central to the ecology of a place, or all the flora, fauna, big, small, prominent, not so prominent, all of them are linked together. But that is the idea very recent for them, but in the case of India, and which manifests in art also, as we see, this is something which is very central to our spiritual and our traditions for a long, long time, perhaps for thousands of years. Similarly, in the case of art, if you look at it, the whole idea of modernity, or the cubism, Picasso and all of that, was influenced by so-called primitive art, or the African mass and all of that. So the notion of representation, supposedly new, was actually very old. So, and that goes on, even territorial preferences, the idea of way people dress up today, the idea that people, when they are dressed from head to toe, that is seen as very, very backward and primitive, whatever, in the Western context. And same Westerners, when they first encountered the non-Western world, such as in Latin America and Africa, they are making fun, and they are not making fun, they are very, very, whatever you want to call, nasty and all of that towards the same people, because they are not covered head to toe, whereas those men and women of 18th and 19th century Europe were. So a point I'm making is there's a lot of these evidences and ideas which are seen as modernity related, or whatever you want to call, embodying modernism, etc., are perhaps just a conceptual falsification which is being pushed on rest of us, because the evidence seems to suggest otherwise.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much, because in some senses it helps me, I'm with the spirit of what you have said, but also helps me clarify some of the sort of arguments which I've been making. So one of the things is that, if we will see the way in which certain dominant ideas and practices have come up, I would, I'm a little wary of the way in which we point the fingers, point the finger only towards kind of a palpable but very, very tangible Europe, or the West, because I think what we need to recognize is that this questioning of this palpable but very imaginary Europe or West has to be accompanied by another form which has become indigenous across the world, and that's the idea of the nation. So the oppression, and the violence is not only of the Western colonialism and Europe, the violence is of the nation-state forms. So I want to actually hold together, the scandal of the West with the outrage of the nation. We tend to celebrate one and be critical of the other, which gets me to the to the other point, which was which you raised. This means that I'm with you that this, the way in which there's a kind of projection of the backward and the forward there are sort of problems with that. But you know, I want to question, you're not suggesting that, you're cautiously saying that there are certain forms which are considered as backward, which hold their critical possibilities. I'm with you in that. However, I don't want to fall into a kind of a nativism which says that, you know, all that is non-Western, all that is indigenous is fabulous stuff. Because otherwise, you know, you end up basically with Hindu spirituality and that sort of stuff. Right? Now, the third, you know, and which gets me to the point as well about what you were saying, you know, about Picasso, for example, drawing upon African masks in his form of primitivism, so that the Guernica couldn't have been painted without that. Now, I would actually like to, this is where I suggest that instead of segregated histories, instead of sequestered histories, if we would see these connections, you know, that would be a whole lot more important. So there are critical possibilities of primitivism as well, which is why, you know, and Ramkinkar Bej is a very good example of that. So he is drawing upon the Santals, he is objectifying them in some senses, but what he's creating is, you know, what might be called not just a vernacular, but a subaltern modernism. You know, those large statues in rubble and stone. So, you know, and this gets me to the final thing, you know, the final point, that theories of modernization, notions of modernity are not just conceptual schemes. They've been world-built. I'll give you one example. You know, so Max Weber spoke about the disenchantment of the world. He didn't celebrate it. It was a rule by bureaucracy. But you know, disenchantment of the world, the idea has been world-built. So who practices the idea of the disenchantment of the world? It's actually tourist agencies. What do we escape? We escape our alienated, disenchanted, terrible existence in the city to go off to Thailand, to go to Goa, where you live, you know, you find enchantment, you find tradition. Which is why, you know, I have my problems with, you know, this idea of tradition, this kind of binary between tradition and modernity. The idea of tradition with a capital T is actually a part of the representations and practices of modernity.